Welcome to JailBreak.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, ladies. We live in a world where they tell you everything's rosy when the actuality is aliens are real and the government's known about it forever. Overnight, an entire island can catch on fire and be gone, and the national debt just keeps skyrocketing. Oh, and the opioid crisis. Otherwise, everything's fine. The reason I show you this is they tell you things aren't real or things that don't exist or they're just crazy conspiracy theories, and then after 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years they go, oh yeah, by the way, that's all real. Well, so isn't this. And to find out what this is, you're going to have to sit back, you're going to want to relax, and you're going to want to check this out. And before we start this video, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell next to it so you're notified of all new videos. YouTube hates me and we got to beat the algorithm. Here we go. But before I start this, I just want to say thank you to all the first responders, Department of Defense, FBI, state and local, special forces, all the subscribers that I have that I really don't deserve. But when you come out in the morning and this is laying on your windshield, that's awesome. One of my subscribers was in town for the Fallen Firefighters Memorial, and he was a subscriber who had actually bought his 80 series because of my 80 series. That's pretty badass. And no matter what you might think of the government as a whole, these men and women are individuals just like you that actually watch things like Richie from Boston or JailBreak, which is a trip. So without that out of the way, let's get to the point of this video. I literally stumbled upon a Bigfoot campsite, we'll call it, or den, completely and totally by accident yet again. And this video basically proves how easy it is to verify that these things are wandering around out in the woods, whether you've seen it or believe it yourself. The government knows they're real. They've been around forever, but they deny it. And one day, maybe, they won't, but I doubt it. At any rate, here we go. So here's the deal. For anybody that spent any length of time out in the woods, the forest, the alpine forest of America, you become quite familiar with trees, different types of damage to trees from snowfall, windstorms, other tree branches falling on top of them. And then you find these inexplicable, strange, quote-unquote structures out in the woods. I've stumbled upon these numerous times, and again, if you spent a lot of time in the woods, specifically watching birds, understanding trees, the different variety of trees, how they break, how strong they are, etc. When you run across things like this, they're very strange. And when you run across things like this in places that are completely and utterly abandoned by humanity, they kind of paint a picture for you. I stumbled across one of these setups one time in New Hampshire while test driving my truck to make sure it wasn't leaking anything, and I was utterly astounded because this was in the middle of a logging camp that had been deserted, it appeared. I'm simply driving my Toyota way up in New Hampshire in a pretty remote area. I stopped the truck and just happened to glance to my left and realized that there were structures here that made absolutely no sense. There were large trees, 5 to 7 inches in diameter, that were simply snapped off at about 10 foot high. And then I was finding trees that were bowed over like arches that were pinned to the ground with other trees. It was totally crazy. Totally crazy. And the more I looked around, the more craziness I found, like giant trees that were uprooted with the roots pointing towards the sky, which means they didn't just tip over and then flip themselves 40 feet around to land in the notch of another tree. These were specifically put here by someone or something. And by the amount of, how do I say this? By the height of the snaps, these were 10 feet off the ground. These trees were large. They were large and they were alive. And somebody somehow arched these things down and pinned them to the ground. And there was no sign of humanity anywhere. This was in the middle of a logging camp. And for whatever reason, these guys abandoned this camp. It seems to be the story everywhere. And the place I'm going to show you was a place called Big Muddy in Missouri, in a place called the Bottoms. And it's supposed to be a state park, but it was completely closed down. Nobody was around. There was no trash. When humans are in the area, when you're in a remote location, you can tell. There'll be wet wipes all over the place. People like to go to the bathroom on the ground and cover it up with leaves. But when you find a place like I did, well, you know what? Let me just show it to you instead of explaining it. But this is a crazy thing. And if you know me, you know that this happens to me all the time. Everyone that's ever met me knows this happens. I'll be talking about something, I'll bump into somebody without saying a word, and they'll bring up the same topic. Or I'll be looking for something and stumble right into it, like this I'm showing you right now. This was entirely accidental, as was what I discovered in Missouri. So here we go. So after a 30-day pit stop back on the East Coast, I made my way back out west. And as usual, I'm taking pictures of wildlife, any type of wildlife. I love this stuff, and I've been doing it a long time. And I get pretty dang close to really large animals in their natural habitats, as you need to. So I'm rolling out of Kentucky on my way to Colorado, and I happen to notice a sign on the side of the road that says Big Muddy, Missouri. The Bottoms. That's where I want to go because I had heard lots of people had seen Bigfoot in this area. There's lots of signs telling you which way to go, and I find myself driving down a dirt road that goes for about 5 miles, and it comes to a big gate that says closed. So I take a left-hand turn and I follow that as well, which once again comes to a gate that's completely closed. All right, whatever. I'm about to roll back out, and I look to my left, and it's thick underbrush, and I happen to spot a bowed tree. Well, I'm out and I am on it, and I literally stumbled into a clearing that clearly Bigfoot had set up shop. Now, militarily speaking, this was a perfect spot because there was no way in the world for you to sneak up on them without them hearing you literally a mile away. These things are really smart. They're not stupid, and they absolutely exist. They've existed for time immemorial. Native Americans drew them in stone, and these things have been spotted all over the world. All over the world, literally, like this. You've got footage of a Bigfoot fighting a brown bear. Now, if this is a guy in a suit, the bear would have ripped the suit off at one point, and it didn't. Here's another piece of footage of a Bigfoot carrying the mother. Now, carrying a baby. This has been analyzed every which way, and the baby's actually moving. And then finally, Nat Geo ran this in Russia. And then, of course, there's the Patterson-Gimlin film with Patty, the Bigfoot back in 1967 with boobs. Come on, man. You know what I mean? If you don't believe it, you're never going to believe it. But if you base all your facts on if this thing is real or not based on what you've seen in television as opposed to what you've actually seen with your own eyes in real life, I don't know what else to tell you. So I'm in a place in Missouri called the Bottoms, and there's a river over there. And these are old, closed down state park roads. You can't get to the river, you can't get any place. So I was about to turn around, but I'm paying attention the whole time I'm driving. And this tangle of trees over here caught my attention. Now, a lot of people, oh, they're just trees, they fell over. I hear you. But you gotta at least apply a little logic to things. Like, see this tree that's broken over? Well, It was placed there. And the further in you come, I mean, there's nothing around here. There's zero evidence of humans because there's no trash. And everything is all tamped down. And just little things like this. And then bigger things like this. Now this is way over my head. That's as high as I can reach. And I'm 5'10". There's really nothing around to snap this tree off. And if you noticed, all the trees are kind of snapped at the same height. I don't think this is new. Snapped off with branches laying on it. These guys are bent over and tucked under the tree and then pinned with another tree. This is intelligence, just saying. Believe it or don't, but I mean, every tree is snapped off at the same height. I find that very curious. Same height as that one, as that one, as that one. And there's actually nothing above here that could simply fall during a windstorm or a snowfall. You see what I'm saying? And I've heard about the bottoms. Lots of people say there's lots of weird things going on out here. Yeah, this tree was placed here. So wasn't that one. Another one. All the big trees that are leaning are all in the fork of another tree, oddly enough. And those trees didn't break off, they were put here. That was put here. Just like these guys. Oh yeah. This was definitely a stop at one point. Trees snap and break all the time, but they don't walk and carry themselves. Huge owl, I didn't even see it. And another one. This tree did not break, this was put here. Oh shit. Oh hell yeah. Same. That was was placed here. That was placed here. Right into the fork of a tree. Holy cow. Oh, my bad. This one's upside down. The big end is up there. Mosquitoes are kicking my butt. I can't believe I found this. There's a random exit to a random location that's all locked up and closed down. National Park, but you can't get in. Everything's closed. And these things are everywhere. These are big trees, man. These are big trees. These are all placed here. And then there's piles of sticks everywhere. These are their building materials, and they gather them, they lean them, and then they move on at some point. This ground is nice and trampled down, all right here, see it? Everywhere else, there's greenery. All by these little lean-tos, there ain't. And I'm just dumb enough to be out here alone. Oh yeah, I mean, I've heard about the bottoms. There's no hiking trails, mountain bike trails, no boat launches, no nothing. This is a dead end off of a long, long dirt road that goes nowhere. Yeah, that was done. As long as the bugs are making noise, I'm good. I believe. That didn't just snap off on its own. There's nothing around to have fallen on it to snap it. And then it's right in the fork of a tree every time. Trees are bent, pinned in place. Same thing. Oh yeah. It's like there was a whole group of them. And the biggest one is right there. Snapped off at about 6.5 feet off the ground, like 5 of them in a row. And they're all used to lean something else on. That is crazy. It's just totally crazy. I found this completely randomly. I saw the word bottoms and headed out here. There's no traffic out here. It's about a 5-mile ride on dirt road. Then take a couple of turns. That was crazy. But I believe it was legit. Because you don't see them on this side of the road. And there's also kind of a makeshift path right there. Looks like it's growing in. You see, you don't see it everywhere else. I just noticed it in that one location. There was a little path heading into the woods. Everywhere else, it's just regular. Trees, bushes, tangles. I just heard a video on Bigfoot Crossroads where Matt was talking about the bottoms. Well, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I mean, look at this. This is thick. But you don't see bent over trees piled up in a teepee formation everywhere, just that one area. Everything else is heavily grown in. Anybody that did venture down here, as far as humans, they'd hear them coming a mile away. National Wildlife Refuge. So again, for people that don't understand this location was perfect militarily speaking, tactically speaking, because there's one way in, one way out, and this was way down by this curve down here, and then the gates were closed. Many, many times in national forests and refuges, when there's too much Bigfoot activity, they simply close the park down. And it's also why you're not allowed to fly drones. Did you ever think about that? You can fly drones over a concert, over a group of people, where if the drone falls down, someone's definitely going to get hurt. But out in the national forest, it's completely banned. They know about it, we know about it, and pretty soon, maybe, everyone else will know about it. But I'll tell you what, as much talk of aliens suddenly in the news, when you meet people day to day, nobody brings it up. Like, it's just no big deal. People are so jaded, and they live off of their iPhones, their iPads, and their laptops. It's very rare to bump into people outdoors. It's a crazy thing. At any rate, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and I will return the favor. I am out.